What's poppin', fellow nerds? Today we are bringing you round 3 from last Friday Night Locals with my Ulforce deck. This is actually going to be Ulforce versus Ulforce, so the mirror match. And my opponent does win the die roll, so he has to go first. Good for us. So my opponent is playing some of the Digimons that give you 1,000 when you have jamming. Or I'm sorry, they give you 1,000 when you unsuspend during the main phase, which I'm not a huge fan of. I would rather have the draw engine myself. I flip my one of egg here. And my non-jamming Vmon. The not broken one. And I'm glad I did these in the reverse order, so I got to draw that mat and then play it. So now I have a memory setter on the field. And he's doing something that I don't really like to do. I don't like burning my hammer sparks early. I really like holding them until the end of the game, so I can just make big pushes on my turn. Right, and he starts swinging in with his jammers. He hits a Hammer Spark, and now it's my turn. Hammer Spark's such a good card. He hits a Hammer Spark, it puts me to 1, and then my mat sets me to 3 memory. And I want to get one of these guys off the field. So I'm going to get rid of the Vmon. Very important in the mirror to get rid of their little jammers. If you don't. And then I get set up a blocker here and choke him at 1 memory. My opponent's also playing vanilla 2-drop rookies, which I'm not a fan of, but I know that they're pretty popular. I'd rather pay 1 more memory if I play him for my hand and just get an effect. So my opponent does misplay here. He forgets I have a blocker on the field and he tries to swing in with his jamming Digimon. Unfortunate, but it does happen. I'd be lying if I told you I've never done that my first couple of tournaments. And I think he got kind of shook up from that because he hammer sparks unnecessarily and then plays a mat. Which doesn't choke me because I have a memory setter. But I forget to hatch my Digitama, so who's really the bad Digimon player? I start getting in there with my Digimon. My opponent thinks it's his turn for a second, but I remind him that it's at 0. Now I'm determining the best way to give him 3 memory, and I just play Arena. And we have a small decision here. I don't have Ulforce yet, so I go ahead and grab one. And my opponent's playing the secret Digimon, which I'm not a big fan of. It doesn't have jamming. Yeah, you get to swing twice with it, but it's only 6k. Like, what are you trying to accomplish swinging twice with a 6k beater? I mean, you can run over like Rookie Rush players if they're suspended, but I don't want to swing into someone's security for 6k. Not a fan of that card. I also don't like the Digimon Zero card either. For some of the same reasons. Oh, also, the secret Digimon costs 3 to Digivolve for a champion. Gross. No thank you. Yeah, I just like the Digimon that has jamming. That's my jam. Alright, we start off with our Ulforce. So I did draw into other Ulforce. Something you should watch out for, which I didn't really care about in this particular tournament just because it's a locals. But if you're playing different arts of cards and you have searched like the other art and you play the alt art, definitely don't do that, because my opponent, if he's paying any attention, knows that I still have another Ulforce in my hand because I added the regular art to my hand. Something small to think about. I do swing into a security and check a Hammer Spark, unfortunately, so payback. And it just becomes his turn magically. And my opponent forgets to activate his Tai Kamiya to draw. Happens. Ulforce is a complicated deck. Swing in. Activate Rena and suspend. Gain a memory. Draw. Swing in again. And I think this was my opponent's first week playing with Ulforce. So misplays are understandable. And I do take it pretty easily. And he chooses to go second for game 2. Makes me go first, which is fine. And I flip my one of egg again. But we open with the broken Vmon this time, so it's cool. And I do open Vmon Gabumon. Such a great combination. And my opponent's playing Gorillamon, which I'm not really a huge fan of in this deck. You're not really trying to turbo into Ulforce. I mean, I'm not. I like just aggroing with my little guys and then like building into my Ulforce, but I don't know, that's just me. And he did set up a blocker, so I can't just get in there. I'm gonna have to wait it out. Go ahead and activate my Tai Kamiya and suspend it to draw a card, because why not? And then I'm just gonna choke him at 1. And Digivolve a blocker on top of my Gabumon. And I think he's leaving it in there to protect it from, I guess, Kakaitis Breath and stuff. So he leaves the Digimon in his breeding area and Digivolves into Structure Deck, Metal Garurumon. I have seen that tech in Ulforce decks. I don't think it's necessary. I would rather play an Ulforce over that all the time forever. I'm not really sure why it's played, honestly. Maybe if you just don't have the draw power to see your Ulforce often enough. Which, if you pay attention to our hand sizes, like, there's definitely a difference in our draw power. I do think about getting XVMon at first, but then I'm like, nah, grab the Ulforce. It's always going to be better. And let's just play Gabumon. Let's get some field presence. At this point, I'm not super worried about what my opponent can do. At most, he can swing twice with Metal Garurumon. So I'm not super worried. He does get jamming due to unsuspending himself from his own effects and being on top of the Era Digimon. And he checks Arena. Arena does miss, but getting it on the field is really beneficial. So we're super okay with missing. And we didn't need any of those cards anyway. And right now, I really want to get his blocker off the field, so I'm going to try to bait his blocker into blocking my Vmon. So I'm going to swing, and from Demivi's effect I get to draw a card, so Vmon's replacing himself when he blocks. And he does think about it and block. I'm like, awesome. Plan's going perfectly. So now I get to swing into his blocker and then suspend both Renas to give it plus 2k to go to 7 and then draw from the Upamon. And then I just Digivolve Aero Digimon. Unsuspends itself. Seems good. And then, just in cases, I just drop another block on top of my Gabumon. So now I have 2 blockers on the field. Yes, he can Omnimon my blockers if he plays it, but he'd be giving me way too much memory and I'd probably just kill him on my turn. He Hammer Sparks, so I'm expecting him to try to push here, which he can't really do. I have 2 blockers on the field, so I mean, even if he was somehow able to mount some kind of attack, I could just block it. But I'm definitely going to let these through so I can keep my blockers on the field. And we do check a Hammer Spark again. Seems good. Puts us to 2. Now let's see what we can do to him. Let's get nasty. And I Hammer Spark just so I can play my Ulforce. But look at our hand size difference. Like, I have a brick in my hand and he has like a regular hand. Like, there's a massive difference in our draw power. Alright, let's start womboing. The only thing we're worried about here is Cocytus Breath or Hammer Spark. Because we have jamming. Now I'm just going through my tamers, unsuspending my Ulforce and just swinging into him. Just clearing as much security as possible. I'm trying to draw into Hammer Sparks to potentially extend the wombo. Sadly, I do not draw into any. but that's fine. Now I'm just thinking about what I want to do. I'm like, oh yeah, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just swing in for that last security. And just to set us up for game on the following turn, let's go ahead and play this card. And he knows it's coming at this point by the way I'm holding it. Omnimon. Nuke that Metal Guru, and now with 2 blockers on the field and he only has 1 security left, like, I don't really think there's a way for him to win. And at this point, he should have activated the tie to draw. I think he just he knew it was over, so he just did whatever. He just digivolves into the Ulforce to end his turn, and now I can just swing twice with Omnimon. And as long as we don't check a Hammer Spark, it's over. Yep. So I do take it 2-0. GG's to my opponent. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like seeing this kind of content and want to see more. Until next time, see ya.